Are you someone who is suffering from symptoms associated with ADHD, or do you have someone that you love who is, and you're exploring healthy alternatives to see what are viable options? And you might be wondering, I wonder if acupuncture or acupressure would be a great option. Then you're in the right place, because that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. Hi, my name is Lisanda Garcia. I'm an integrative developmental and educational specialist. My focus is helping you to reverse learning and behavior challenges that your child is experiencing. And today I am going to talk about ways to reduce and reverse symptoms of ADHD. Firstly, in today's topic, talking about acupuncture and acupressure. And I'm going to discuss the 4 common patterns with those who have ADHD, common acupoints used with ADHD, and one of my favorite apps. Okay, so what is acupuncture? Acupuncture is using body pressure points to clear blockages of energy, restoring the energy flow, often known as qi, throughout the body. Practitioners have been using acupuncture for thousands of years. It's just now in recent years that we have the technology that we can see it. We use with thermo-imaging, you can kind of see when you stimulate a point how it affects the body. They use these really thin hair needles. So if anybody has seen like a picture or in a movie, people with needles all over them, and they're like, I think that's going to hurt. It does not hurt. A needle, when you get injected with something, has to be fat enough so the fluid can go through it. That's why it hurts. These needles are super thin, so they come in these little kind of containers. And when they identify a specific point, and I'm not even sure how they do it, but I have this little thing on here. Let's see. And then they just tap the needle in, and you can see the needle is in. And I can't even feel it. I didn't feel it going in, and I can tell because there's a little bit of weight. I know that there's something in my skin, but it absolutely does not hurt. I experienced acupuncture when I lived in Japan because I had an ovarian cyst that I identified here during this one summer when I was here. So I went back, and we had some great English-speaking acupuncturists near the base where I was living, and then I did several treatments, and you can't really feel anything. The only time you can feel anything, I will tell you, is if they connect them to electrodes where they're pulsing them, kind of like a TENS unit, and then you feel like pulsing the stimulation of the muscles, and you're actually feeling the muscle. You're not feeling the needle anyway. So acupuncture is actually particularly effective for ADHD. So I would, if you have the opportunity, you have acupuncturists in your area and you want to go check it out, I would highly suggest you try it. ADD and ADHD is understood to be an excess of heat and wind in the head. So in Chinese medicine, they're looking for things like heat, excess heat, under, what would the opposite be for either being over, under heat, wind, and phlegm and different things. With liver qi stagnation, many times it's complicated by dampness that is potentially rooted in the kidney or spleen deficiency. So they're looking at different organs, different meridians, and seeing where there's excess energy and under energy. So the 4 types, heat is the most common, according to Alex Tiberi, and those symptoms would be things like hot, red face, red lips, anger, tantrums, biting, can't sit still, disturbed sleep, and wakes up early. There's social connotations, argumentative, runs around shouting, screaming, and disturbing others. And the heat in the body rises up and affects the heart, which houses the spirit. The heart is easily affected by heat, leading to irritability and restlessness. And some things that affect it are like hot and spicy food, flavorings, and food coloring. So those of you, who know that your children are very affected by red dye, for example, This could be a pattern for you. Lingering pathogens, lingering fever, womb heat, which was transferred through the placenta from the mother. If antibiotics are used to clear fever, heat can be lodged in the system, and immunizations also can cause lingering heat pathogens. So when somebody who practices acupuncture, Chinese medicine, or energy work, they might be trying to clear the heat from the liver to calm the spirit. Okay, the second pattern is heat and phlegm together, and those are the hot symptoms plus mania type symptoms, including aggressivity and violence. And socially, it would be willfully destructive, tearing things apart, breaking toys, hitting, kicking, cruelty to other children. Kids do things that they know are wrong, but they don't care because their morals are blotted out. So the heat and the phlegm combined, or the heat combined with the phlegm, rise up to affect the heart and disturb the spirit, leading to anger and willful acts of aggression. Phlegm causes the mind to be clouded, and that can lead to children who do things that are wrong without feeling of moral and consequence. And things that can affect that are lingering pathogens from immunization, foods like dairy, refined sugar, and wheat, and accumulation disorder, like eating the same damp, heat creating foods over and over. So there are foods and supplements, and anything you put in your body can create heat or can create dampness. And if you want to learn more about that, just Google, damp creating foods, heat creating foods, traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, and you should find a lot. And some treatment principles would be to clear the heat and to resolve the phlegm, obviously. Pattern number 3 is spleen deficiency, and the symptoms would be high energy, poor appetite, bloating, gas, poor memory, anxious, restlessness, fidgety, can't sit still. Instead of having heat boiling up inside, like the above 2 patterns, this patient is pale or gray in the face with the possible of feelings of cold. For the social aspect, they need attention. They act out when the attention is not received. They're manipulative and they have hatred. In this case, when the child isn't getting the energy from the spleen through good nourishment, then he reaches out to those around them, especially typically the parents. So if the chi or the energy is withheld for some reason, then the child gets angry, and probably because they're frightened from the loss of energy, and the chi becomes deficient and the blood does not circulate properly, withholding nourishment from the heart. The child then becomes anxious, restless, fidgety, and can't sit still. So things that would affect this would be immunizations, lengthy childbirth, anesthetics in childbirth, long-term food accumulation disorder, drinking too much fruit juice, and not having boundaries. These children seem to be good at manipulating parents, so be careful, and they manage to get their way in most things. They draw on their parents' energy, which turns to become more and more exhausting. Those parents are not able to stand up to the child. So their treatment principle would be to tonify the spleen. And the fourth pattern is kidney deficiency. And the symptoms would be things like being frail and weak, tends towards hyperactivity when they're tired or excited, which was very interesting because my oldest son, who's very ADD, he when he was little, I remember even right away when he was a baby, he would be more right before it was time to go to bed. So when he was supposed to be tired, he would be more active at night, and that always kind of was his mojo. So they don't like to go to bed even though they are tired. Even though they are hyper, they don't generally become violent. And during the day, they might be weak and lethargic, and socially, they might get easily startled, which would actually be part of the moral reflex, and which is a whole nother conversation. And they would be slow to develop. And the kidney energy is weak, so it can't hold that energy down. and it rises up to the heart and the mind, because the kidney energy goes from the from your feet up, and it rises up to the heart and the mind, resulting in hyperactive behavior. And symptoms are worse when the child is tired. So it is really important that they get their naps, or it depends how old your child is, but that just notice when they're tired, then they get out. And in fact, my youngest one was exactly like that. When he was overly tired, that was when it was the worst. And things that affect it is weakness from the parents, genetic disorders, severe illness during pregnancy, long-term illness, and again, severe illness. And then what they would do for treatment would be they want to tonify that kidney yin, and they regulate the nervous system. So doing things that balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to bring that energy up. And one particular effective acupuncture treatment, so there's different, like you can do acupuncture on your body, but there are some people that only do acupuncture in the ear, because your ear, if any of you are familiar with reflexology, we have basically our whole representation of our body in our hands and our feet, but we also have our whole representation of our body in our ear, and that is called auriculotherapy. And if you're going to do that at home, excuse me, hold on. You would want to be using these ear seeds. So what an ear seed is if you can kind of see, there's these little seeds, and we actually have little tweezers that I don't have with me right now. And you pull it off, and it's a little seed that is stuck on an adhesive, and you put it on a point in your ear, whatever the point is going to be, and you stick it on. And then what happens is during the, during that week, you can, whenever you think about it, you can kind of press on it. You can get, I have this lovely ear model with a bunch of points on it, and I also have a big chart with all the points on the ears. And then that way, you don't have to do you can needle the points in your ears, but you don't have to, because you can use the ear seeds, you can put them on those points, and then you can squeeze them. And then also what they do is they take a toothpick, and you can just Google this because there's videos on this, but you can take a little toothpick, and if there is a spot like that you suspect could help, let's say you find a spot on your ear model or on the chart, or better yet, you Google like which spots. But for example, I have this one on a point called the Shen Men, which is like a master activator. And so you can take a little toothpick and go on that area and just kind of like rub it a little bit and ask the person, or for yourself, see if it's a little extra tender. If it is, that is the point that you want to use. If there's a little discoloration, or if there's a little extra tender, then you know that that's a point that you need. You put the little ear seed on it, and then you just kind of squish it whenever you want to activate it throughout the week. Okay, so that's for the ear, but back just to the main body. Some of the common acupressure points for ADHD are Heart 7, which is right here, and Pericardium 6, which is right about here, just a few fingers down on the wrist. Liver 3, which is on the foot. It is going to be the webbing between the big toe and the next toe. So on your foot, obviously it's not down this far, but it's that webbing between the two toes. Stomach 36, which is down below the knee. Here's your bone, and right off to the side, about 3 or 4 fingers down, there's a spot right off to the side of the bone is stomach 36, and the third eye, which is right in the center of your eyebrows. And of course there are more, but those are very, very common ones. The Heart 7 calms the mind, relieves anxiety, worry, promotes sleep, lowers inflammation, and stimulates the cerebellum. Liver 3, the one that was on your foot, calms the mind, it reduces stress and irritability, relieves headache, improves digestion. It's a liver point, and oftentimes when there's anything going on with toxicity or digestion or liver stuff, then that's a really good point. Stomach 36, the one that's on the leg, calms the mind, strengthens the stomach, regulates digestion, supports energy, and it's known also as a 3 extra miles. So when you need extra energy, you can be using those points. And then the third eye, it's right there up at the brain, calms the mind, promotes sleep, and relieves anxiety. And so what you can do is you can at home, you can stimulate the points manually. There is an AccuStimulator that you can get. I will put a link because I can't remember if they call it an AccuStim but on Amazon you can find them. And it's a little battery operated little stimulator, and you can use it to stimulate the point. You can stimulate it manually. If you use the AccuStim, you don't have to stimulate it quite as long usually as manually. And you can use a laser. So if you use like a laser like this, it has a laser pointer, and you can stimulate your acupoints using a laser. So the only thing about this one is that for some reason, I don't know, like if my batteries go out a lot, but anyway, if you get just a little laser, you can find the point and just stimulate it for a while, and the laser goes through. Now, do not use the laser on the third eye because it's too close to the eyes, and you don't want to accidentally, you never, ever, ever, ever want to get a laser inside the eye. So don't use the laser on the third eye, but just use it on any of the points, I would say, below the head or in the ear. If your child is too restless, then you don't want to be anywhere near the head, or just use stimulating points. You can also use Bach remedies. So that will be a topic of another conversation. But if you know anything about Bach remedies and you know which remedy that you like, you can use a Bach remedy on a specific acupoint, and it would even give you a bigger benefit. And as an app, I have an app called Acupuncture Points. There's like the logo is blue and white yin yang sign. You can't probably see it, but it's right here probably. And here's my pretty kitty. But I love this one. So what happens is so they have points, protocols, and charts. So first of all, I normally use them for points because I'm looking for specific points. So when I was looking for heart 7, I clicked on heart, and then it gives me the entire picture of the whole heart meridian. But if I want heart 7, I click it, and it specifically will show me exactly where heart 7 is. It's very clear, and I really like it. But they also have protocols on here too. So they have anger, abdominal pain, anxiety, asthma, autism, whatever. So they just have tons of protocols of what you would use for different conditions. And it's one-time fee. I think it was super cheap. Might have been about $30, but it was well worth it. And then there's a bunch of charts. So there's charts of the 5 elements. And the 8 extra meridian. There's just a bunch of charts on here that you can look on too. So anyway, it was a great app. So that's my favorite app. So in the description, I'll put a couple links for a couple things that you might be interested in. And otherwise, please remember to subscribe so you can be notified when my next video is going to come out, because next I'm going to talk about using frequencies to help with ADHD.